Good day, ma'am. I am Lawrence Faustino from 2 Bravo. I will be making a video to discuss what was given in my topic for my incomplete grades. Human rights are fundamental rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of nationality, sex, national or ethnic origin, race, religion, language, or any other status. These rights are essential for the enjoyment of a life in dignity and for the full development of human potential. Human rights have different components and sources and are subject to state obligation. And here are the examples of components of human rights. The first one is civil and political rights. This includes the rights to life, liberty, and security of person, freedom from torture and slavery, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to a fair trial, and the right to participate in political life. Civil and political rights are a category of human rights that protect individuals from state interference and ensure their ability to participate in the political and civil life and for their society. These rights are fundamental for a democratic and just society, encompassing freedoms from discrimination, arbitrary detention, and the right to a fair trial, as well as the right to vote and participate in political processes. And the second one is social, economic, and cultural rights. This includes the right to work, education, health, and adequate standard of living and social security. Economic, social, and cultural rights are a category of human rights focused on the conditions necessary for a life of dignity and well-being. These rights include access to things like food, housing, healthcare, education, social security, and cultural participation. They are recognized in international human rights law, and states have obligation to respect, protect, and fulfill these rights. And the third one is collective rights. These are rights that apply to groups of people, such as the right to self-determination and the right to development. In the collective rights, in the human rights refer to rights held by a community, group, or people rather than by the individual separately. These rights are often associated with indigenous people and other groups whose cultural identities and ways of life are tied to collective existence and share resources. Collective rights address the limitations of individual rights in protecting communities and their environments, particularly in cases of historical injustices, resources control, and cultural preservation. And go back to the second topic. The next example of stages of human rights. The first is the first generation, primarily focused on civil and political rights, emphasizing limitation on state power and protection against abuse. Also known as blue rights, primarily focus on civil and political liberties and participation in political life. They are closely associated with the concept of limiting state interference and ensuring individual freedoms. And the second one is the second generation, focus on economic, social, and cultural rights, emphasizing the state's role in providing social welfare and ensuring basic needs are met. Also known as socio-economic rights, focus on equality and are the concern with social justice and public obligation. They include the right to work, healthcare, education, and an adequate standard of living. Among others, these rights emphasize the need for governments to provide for the well-being of their citizens and to ensure fair and just conditions for all. And the last one is the third generation, focus on collective rights, emphasizing the rights of groups and communities such as the right to development and environmental rights. Also known as the solidarity rights, focus on collective rights and aim to address issue faced by groups or communities as a whole. Rather than just individuals, these rights often involve cooperation and mutual support among nations and peoples. And here are the examples of sources of human rights. The first one is international treaties. These are legally binding agreements between states such as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Next is customary international law. These are properties that have become so widely accepted as law that they are considered binding on all states. The other one is general principles of law. These are fundamental legal principles recognized by civilized nations. And the last one is the declarations. These are non-binding statements of principles, such as Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the last, state obligations to human rights. States have a fundamental obligation to protect, respect, and fulfill human rights. And and here are the examples of state obligation to human rights. The first one is respect. State must refrain from interfering with a curtailing the enjoyment of human rights. The second one is to protect. State must acts laws and takes measures to prevent human rights violations by the state authorities or non-state actors. The last one is fulfill. States must take positive steps to ensure that people can enjoy their human rights, such as by providing education, healthcare, and social security. In addition to this core obligation, states also have specific obligation related to. The first one is non-discrimination. State must ensure that everyone has equal access to opportunities and resources to enjoy their human rights. The last one is participation. State must ensure that people are able to participate in decisions that affect their lives. In addition, here are the examples of state obligation of human rights. The first one is respecting. Human rights means acknowledging and upholding the fundamental rights and freedoms that belong to every individual, regardless of their background or status. This involves not interfering with the enjoyment of these rights and actively working to protect them from infringement. The second one is protect. Human rights involves upholding the fundamental freedoms and entitlements that belong to every individual, ensuring their dignity and well-being. This includes respecting, protecting, and fulfilling these rights through legal frameworks, governmental actions, and individual responsibility. And the last one is fulfill. Human rights means that states must actively take steps to ensure that everyone can actually enjoy their human rights. It's not just about avoiding violations, it's about creating the conditions and providing the means for people to realize their rights. This involves positive action such as enacting laws, allocating resources, and establishing institutions to support and facilitate the enjoyment of human rights.